that's really just preparing or compiling financial statements. And then within tax, we have some government incentives programs, and then we also have an insolvency department. So one kind of interesting thing that we did lately in our Langley office is we did move. They call it like the office of the future, and it's kind of like a more modern style office where we have you know, the seats around the outside, partners on the inside, and a lot of like collaboration areas and stuff. So if you're ever in the area and you want to check it out, you should definitely drop by. So kind of just talking about some jobs that are available at Deloitte. So I kind of mentioned our main groups there. We have our audit, our accounting services group, tax, government incentives, our insolvency department, and we also have what we call DMSs, which is Deloitte Management Something Services. Yeah, so that'd be more like an administration role. Kind of talking, and then, well, if you also consider our Vancouver office, we have a few more things available. So that'd be like consulting. There's ERS, which is Enterprise Risk Services. So that's like your technology-based stuff. So as an auditor, we might bring them in if they have a complex technology system. They would come in and they would do an audit strictly of that bit. And then we have our consulting department, which is kind of like your sky is the limit. We have people that have like a healthcare background. They're consulting with companies on like how to structure, like from their experience in that field. So we actually hire like engineers, nurses. There's actually quite a wide array of what kind of experience we bring in for that. But we don't have any consulting in our Langley office. That's all based solely out of Vancouver and of course other offices as well. So we kind of from a job perspective, we have kind of, I think we kind of consider it to be like two buckets. We have our new hires, which would be people that are in university, they're coming out of university and they're looking for a job in order to become a CPA. Then you have what we call our experienced hires, which would be not like that entry level position, but maybe somebody that's already working out as an accountant in another firm or something. Yeah, like actually Hannah was that. She came over from another firm. And I guess also from the admin perspective, like the administration perspective, they would be kind of more considered like an experienced hire. They'd be coming in as job openings open up. There seems to be more of like a predictable influx of the students each year, kind of people coming in. Then you kind of have like your, it's a somewhat of a high turnover industry, so you have kind of people leaving as they move up. Yeah, so kind of speaking from a career path in the accounting industry, so I'd say like 80% of our new hires are going to be people that are going into the CPA program. So the typical progression for that would be they'd probably be coming out of university, not even necessarily with an accounting degree. They have stuff like, say, at UBC that would get you prepared. It's called the UBC DAP program, so it's your diploma in accounting. And that would prepare you to enter into the CPA designation. And actually the CPA itself now has the CPA prep program, which will give you like the courses you need as well. As for that though, I think you still need to have a university degree that would be transferable in order to get into that. Kind of to get background, say, like most of our hires are straight out of university, so just to give you an idea of, say, what a typical start would look like for them, we do start off with a lot of, I mean, obviously it would be a lot training heavy, so we have an orientation portion, so you spend a week, it's all based out of Vancouver, as we are one office with Vancouver and Prince George, and you're spending your time basically orienting yourself with the office. You kind of have like your typical, how do I enter my time, like who do I go to for help, who's who sort of thing, introduction to the office. And then your following week is actually like an in-depth, kind of like a case study sort of thing. It's like a mock audit. So you kind of go through that for a full week, kind of like typical stuff that you'd be doing as a first year student. That we call them A1s, which is like an associate level 1. So an A1 coming in, the typical kind of sections of a file you might be looking at, kind of posed client interactions. And again, there's a lot of team building involved with that because our profession is very team-based. Pretty rare from our perspective to be working just by ourselves. You're always going to have like a partner signing off on the financial statements. You have like kind of your one-off kind of jobs as well, usually directed by a partner at least, but say a typical team would probably have a partner, a manager, a senior and 2 staff. That'd be like our typical makeup of a team. So from that perspective, I think the teamwork aspect comes in a lot. From a job requirements perspective, like I said, most jobs would require a CPA or a desire to become a CPA in the future. There's nothing to say we wouldn't hire somebody in a point to kind of work up to that, but I think typically a university degree or something to get into that program would be one of our requirements, or at least getting close to completing that and entering into the prep program, or if you have the proper courses or whatever, and then going into the CPA. I put on here a willingness to learn. I think that's usually one of the key things people are looking for. Like this has a really steep learning curve coming into a public accounting office. Within 2 years of being there, the typical progression, you would be leading a team out in the field. So you're kind of going from not knowing anything from an audit perspective to being kind of the go-to person for everything within 2 years. So just being able to ask questions or just kind of that eagerness to learn is a huge asset going into this. And then another thing that we're looking for is social skills. So you're out at a client, you're the face of Deloitte, especially an entry-level person. They're going to be probably the most in contact with the client. So we take those, we're putting those people out there as really the face of Deloitte. Like myself and Hannah's managers, we're out maybe once or twice or a couple of days during the whole audit when people are probably out there for 2 weeks otherwise. So we're really looking for people that would be able to interact well, ask the right questions, just typical manners and stuff that we'd be looking for, being able to get the information we need, interact well with the client. So I always we want to make sure our clients have a pleasant experience, considering that they are being audited during that. So some tips that I have for applying for jobs at Deloitte. I don't know if you guys, if there's a CPA, the CPA website actually posts events that are coming up. We have this, typically again, would be like an entry-level position coming out of a university or something, or looking to go into the CPA program. There's a lot of events that they would have, so that would be like towards the end of August, we have something out at the Langley Event Center, and that's all of the Fraser Valley firms will go out to that, and they're just looking for a way to meet all the students. There's one downtown as well, which is a big recruiting event. They're both put on by CPA, and then there's 2 days for that one. It'd be like a mid-sized firms day and then a national firms day. So I think if you're going through this, like I said, the social skills aspect or getting to know people is a huge aspect of getting into the job market with this. So getting out to those events is obviously a pretty critical point in starting to build that connection with the people at the firms you want to meet. I would say for experienced hires, it's probably a matter of just regularly checking the website. We do post jobs. I would say the experienced hires usually come up when, say, somebody leaves Deloitte, and then we kind of identify a need to fill that position. Obviously, that kind of a job would come with the need for some sort of previous experience. So for the new students, I kind of touched on it, but recruiting season begins kind of late August and goes all the way through October. So it goes from these events that we go to application deadlines to an interview period, and then an offer period, and then an acceptance period. It's all very structured, and the reason they do that is to get the power back to the students. To be able to, all of the offers go out on the same day. They can pick and choose between the firms. And it's also good for us because if we're trying to give out offers, it kind of seems like in order to get the people within the firm, you kind of have to start getting earlier and earlier. So from a resume perspective, just some key things that I've noticed and kind of when you're applying for a job, I think these would be important things to consider. This one's kind of counterintuitive to all of my other points, but it's important to try and keep it short. I know a lot of people when they're reading through resumes, like I think Vancouver, when they go through the recruiting process, they get like 1,500 to 2,000 resumes. So if it can be short, it's good, but you also need to make sure you have obviously relevant information in there. So it's kind of a balancing act. So you really want to pick, a lot of times when people post the job descriptions, they'll have a list of skills that they're looking for in this position or whatever. If you can kind of pick out those skills and say, I have these skills, here's the previous experience I have that demonstrates that I have those skills. It'd be more valuable to have a smaller set of skills, but those relevant skills, and then actually saying why. Because I could list off a bunch of skills without any proof, and I could not even have those skills really. Probably don't. I would say try not to leave large gaps in experience. So if you kind of see, you know, somebody's got a whole bunch of experience here, and then there's like 20 years of nothing, and then something else kind of leaves you wondering what's in the middle, or you can explain kind of what's in there. Usually, like, there's life events that happen, obviously, that lead to that, but I think it's usually valuable. Same sort of thing as if you're kind of jumping job to job. It kind of begs the question if somebody might be like not committed to staying somewhere. Yeah, so I think those are the most important. Also, the cover letter is kind of meant to be your personality on a page, I would say, to some extent. So when you're working on your cover letter, really try and bring your personality out in that if you can. Even better than that is if you're getting out to the events, you've met the people in advance, then they already know kind of who you are. The best thing you can do is if you get up to a few events, meet some people a few times, they would already be looking for your resume through that process. So kind of comments that I would have on, like, from a general perspective on kind of going through a job search or kind of like job performance mistakes. Let's say from a job search perspective, don't be too pushy. Like, a lot of times, like, again, I'm going kind of back to these events that people go out to. It's where we usually meet a lot of the people that end up working for the firm. You can have some people that will go up and they'll kind of command the whole conversation. It's good to see people that can talk well. Like I said, social skills are integral to our position, but you also don't want somebody that's just like super controlling. We work in teams a lot, so somebody that can kind of include everybody is important to us. But at the same time, you want to try and exhibit your social skills. You don't want to be the quiet person in the circle that doesn't say anything. Otherwise, you're not really getting noticed. Like I said before, you're already the face of Deloitte in front of clients. We want to kind of be able to get to know you. Lots of people don't. I've seen this quite a few times actually going to these events and stuff. A lot of people don't think that their skills are relevant, so they actually don't even apply. If you don't really give it a shot, you're not really helping yourself out at all. And then, kind of last there, I would say, keep at it. It can take some time to be successful. Myself, I went through, I got hired out of university, but I went through the process 3 different times. I didn't even get hired out of the 3 times. I still kept pushing to get in there. So I kind of found a firm that I felt like I would, fit in well with, and I got to meet people within it. And throughout the process, I was introduced to the Deloitte Langley office, which I didn't even know was there at the time, and I actually don't think I could ever be happier than the office I ended up in. So it's kind of a nice way to go through it. It's kind of like I call it the fairy tale sort of thing, where it's like, I don't know if I would be as happy if I went some other route, but I just kind of went with something I got hired. Yeah, and then from a job performance mistake, I would say probably the most important thing would be in starting, like I said, there's a huge learning curve, and the more questions that people ask, the better. If you kind of get on a hard task, you get stuck, spinning your wheels. You're ending up spending a bunch of time on something where maybe just a quick question might lead somebody to be able to kind of keep you moving again. So I always say there's no such thing as a bad question. I think it might be a bit of a cliche now, but it's true. I think the more time you can spend, kind of keeping yourself moving forward, asking questions of people, the more you're going to learn. Then the other thing is the other side, the second side. So ask lots of questions, and then we find a lot of times people will just follow what was done previously, as opposed to thinking for themselves and trying to really understand what was done and why it was done. And I think from a learning perspective, I think especially when you're learning kind of so quickly, if you don't understand what's going on, you're probably going to find yourself lost in just one kind of small variation in kind of what was done last year to this year is going to throw you completely off, and you'll be kind of confused with what's going on there. So, did you have anything to add on any of those? Or?
I can just go with sharing my experience.
Yeah, so Han,
when
Yeah.
she immigrated? How probably took 10 years ago, right?
12 years ago. Sure. So, well, Paul had covered kind of quite a wide range of topics, what Deloitte is all about and how accounting world kind of works out from entry level to up. So I'm just gonna share more about my personal experience because I am an immigrant myself. So I came from China 12 years ago, came here for university, and the goal was just to get a degree, go back to China, and be an English teacher. Somehow I landed in accounting. So how that happened, I didn't know. So at first, when I was trying to look for a job in accounting, it was very tough because I didn't have the Canadian working experience.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, it was
Yes.
very important to have some experience because it's not that our experience back in our home country is not relevant, but it's more of how your employer wanted to see how you can fit in the society here, how you can fit in your team with your Canadian coworkers. So that really hurt me a little bit, but I was fortunate enough that I went through a co-op program with UVic, similar to the interim program that you guys have. So those kind of programs will help you to build up your Canadian work experience. So I get to get an interview with a local firm in Victoria, started my accounting and realized, oh, I love this profession, so I progressed with the designation. After I got designated, I have to relocate to Vancouver, so I joined Deloitte. Came as experienced hire. Well, how I got the job, I really kind of went on the website almost every day just to see if there's opportunity. Because like Paul said, experienced hires, you never know what's going to be out there. Because it really depends on whether people are leaving or whether there's a need for an extra position for that level. So I really just keep my eyes out, talk to the HR person, connect myself with them very often, and finally I found this job opening with Deloitte Langley. Got the interview, talked to the senior manager. I really prepped myself, not from the accounting perspective, because I know the accounting already, they know my designation, they know my academic background. So how I presented myself is really, I was confident, not shy about speaking about my foreign experience, and not shy about being an ESL. Because often I find with immigrants, you don't really speak up. You tend to stay in a little safe zone, safe circle. You go to recruiting with your friends, you go to networking with your friends, but when you stay in a group, people don't want to come and approach you. People don't see you stand out. So you really make sure that you kind of show this confidence image to your employer, to the HR people, to let them know that you can take on the engagement, you can work independently, you can be a reliable source. So I make sure I have that image, have that, eject that message to the HR people, to the employer, so they see me as being competent to take on the task myself. So I think I've done well, and that got me the job. So started as senior at Deloitte Langley, and really happy with the people that I work with. Even though nowadays they still laugh at my broken English, and I'm still learning how to say latte or latte, but I'm getting there. And I'm never shy about, talking about my broken English, and it's fun, and it gets my team to laugh about it. So it's great, and it's very interesting, and I make friends with them. So I guess the key message I'm trying to convey here is be confident. Don't shy about your experience, your language barrier, or if there's any culture shock, culture difference that you're trying to conquer. Never afraid of those. Take challenge, conquer them, see what you can do to get over them, get the help, get the resources. I mean, like as Deloitte, we have a perfect, well, you can see me, I'm from Deloitte, and I'm an immigrant. I'm willing to help people. So is Paul, he's there to help all the time. And a program like this. So make sure you utilize those resources to get you up there. But the first thing is you have to identify what you're afraid of. What are the challenges you need to conquer? So once you figure those out, know what the resources are, and then work with it, then I'm sure you get to where you want it to be. So I guess we can open up to questions.